Well, bowling fans, we're back from Castle Lanes and Racine. More high school bowling, the Eileen's Bowling Buddy MidWinter High School Classic. And Joy, 4 teams on the show today, 2 boys teams, 2 girls teams, a couple of familiar faces out there, but lots of new faces, first time under the TV lights. I can imagine there's going to be some nerves going on, some of those bowlers that could affect what their teammates do to keep them in the game.
Well, and there should be nerves. I mean, that's part of the learning process and growing process, and we're going to see some good talent out there, and they only get 2 shots on each lane, so you got to make your read and adjustment quickly.
Yeah, 2-game total pin Baker format matches, so pressure is going to be on all the teams that are out there. Our boys final is McGuanago versus Kenosha's Indian Trail High School. Our girls final is Waukesha West versus New Brill and Eisenhower. And we're going to come back to Castle Lanes with that boys final for you in just a minute, so make sure you stay tuned. Eileen's Bowling Buddy, used by high school and college coaches and members of the PBA Tour to train, warm up, and rehab. Get all the information at eileensbowlingbuddy.com.
Success has to be earned. Earned through hard work and dedication. There is no easy road. There are no shortcuts. You have to put in the time, get focused, and outwork your competition. Go earn it. Get motivated.
Opening match here on the boys' side. Indian Trail out of Kenosha versus McGuanago High School. Boys' final for the 2015 MidWinter High School Classic presented by Eileen's Bowling Buddy. Both these teams coming out of the lower half of the bracket. Indian Trail went down to the 10th frame of their match against Union Grove in game number 5 to pull it out 3-2. If I got to pick a favorite here, I'd have to say Indian Trail just on the basis of they just came out of the match. They didn't have to stand around as long in the semifinals, and they're pretty lined up, scoring just a little bit higher today than McGuanago is, Joey.
So do you think the kids may actually get a little stiffened up just from sitting and waiting in the wings?
It's not just the stiffening up, it's the looking forward to bowling on TV and the nerves kind of getting you a little bit more. So John Beelan from Indian Trail starts off his team with a strike, and now young man Justin Verheyen out of McGuanago, senior this year.
Justin, a thumbless player, high rev type, son of Rick, a little bit of loft, definitely a little bit of overreaction, kind of a little bit yank on that shot it looked like.
Yeah. And with Justin, you know when he starts his team off with a strike, he's one of those bowlers that's out there loud and proud and firing up his team, and always a good quality to have in a leadoff bowler, especially for high school or college and in Baker team situations.
Well, your leadoff bowler can set the tempo or the mode, let's say, for a team competing. Any good conversion on the spare, taking your spare ball out of the bag.
Yeah, always smart thing to do, especially for those high rev two-handed players. Josh Bucko, a freshman. Been bowling since he was 7 years old, got 8 years under his belt. Want to thank his dad, Scott Bucko, for all the help with his bowling, and Dad's done a pretty good job getting him in the pocket there with a double on the board early for Indian Trail, and it's always good, even these 2-game total pin matches, jump out early and let your opponents be the ones having to play catch-up, because there's really no defense in bowling at all.
Well, legally there is no defense. You're right. No.
Left-hander Jake Lipinski stepping up for McGuanago and goes wide, leaves himself a washout. Now, pretty interesting strategy we saw McGuanago use earlier in the day, and they're going to do it now. They're going to bring in a right-handed bowler to convert a washout, and they've used the left-handed bowlers. They have 2 on their team with Jake Lipinski and with Brandon Robinson to make right-handed spares. So pretty interesting. Brian Ryway's coming in here early this game to try to make the washout, Joey.
Well, we all know the difficulty of converting a washout, and it is a little bit easier, you would think, for a right-handed player, but he chops the 1 off the 1-2-4.
And now a big early lead of 27 pins for Indian Trail. Could extend it to 37 if Michael Hennessy can get his team 3 in a row.
So why don't we touch base on what pattern the boys are bowling on today, Phil?
Yeah, they're bowling on Castle Lane's house pattern, so most high school matches do take place on house-type conditions, so odds are we'll see some higher-scoring matches today on both the boys and the girls' side, and Indian Trail jumping out to that early 37-pin lead with that strike. So
well, we all know early leads are nice, but that's no guarantee you're going to hang on to it, especially once you switch lanes.
yeah, exactly. That's why it's a 2-game total pin match. The bowlers will throw 1 game Baker-style format on each lane, with Ricky Bross Jr. coming up a little light for McGuanago and leaving not an easy spare here with a 4-8.
Yeah, Ricky cutting that loose a little bit. That means he's got a nice fluid swing, strong release, almost caught a bad break by leaving a 4-5 up there with the 2-pin falling out. Should be an easy conversion, but anytime there's more than one up there, there's accuracy is needed for the conversion.
Yeah, you definitely want to take the chop out of play on this, straighten it out a little bit. That's going to be trouble. Ooh, I thought he was going to chop that one, Joey.
I mean, there's one way to chop it and a couple ways to make it, and he made it on the cross, which is acceptable.
Yeah. Josh Williams, you recently saw him with his 2nd place finish with Savannah Giroux in the 2015 Wisconsin High School Mixed Doubles Championship. We had a Motion Plus lanes, and Josh bowling in the number 4 slot today. We saw him in the number 5 slot last year when Indian Trail made the TV show, and a nice flush strike for Josh.
Indian Trail's looking pretty strong here early, just kind of track bowlers down and in, where we got some big hands coming up here with the Hibberd boys.
Yes,
First
indeed.
up being Matt.
And both the Hibberd boys on a roll recently, each shooting their first 800 series in their Saturday morning leagues at Jay's Lanes in McGuanago. That's where McGuanago bowls their home matches out of. Just a little bit of hand there by Matt Hibberd.
Just a little, well, kind of like Dad, I think. I think Ralph is near that.
Yeah, Ralph Hibberd, one of the coaches, along with Rick Verheyen for the McGuanago team. Head coach Marty Williams, Josh's father for Indian Trail. And that strike keeps McGuanago within 47 pins with Ryan Wildenberg up, looking for 5 in a row for Indian Trail.
All right, the anchor bowler, solid game. Good rev rate on his part as well.
And getting out of the gate with the front 5, got to put the swings a little more at ease for Indian Trail here.
Well, now we get our first look at Matt's older brother, Billy. Matt, 17 years of age, Billy, 15.
Throws that one out and just did not get that one right enough. You could see it was lasering in on that head pin the entire time and pays the full penalty.
Yeah, I think they may have just been a touch soft and a touch left of target, and where you'd think it would hold pocket being at a house shot, not always the case.
Well, see if he can get himself 2 here into the commercial break and keep the damage at a minimum, but right now McGuanago's looking at being down over 60 pins with only 5 frames gone in this 2-game total pin match, and they're going to have their work cut out for them. When we come back from this commercial break, join us from Castle Lanes for the second half of game number 1 in just a moment. Why do we have so many of our televised tournaments at Castle Lanes? Because we love being part of the wild side of bowling. If you're ready to get in touch with your wild side, go to castlelanes.com. Barbier's Italian Inn, featured in onmilwaukee.com's In Search of the Perfect Pizza in January 2013. Near Miller Park on Bluemont Road and on Milwaukee Avenue in South Milwaukee. Indian Trail not messing around out here in the lanes today. Front 5, 71 pin lead here from Castle Lanes and Racine for the 2015 MidWinter High School Classic Boys Final. And John Beelan trying to look for 6 in a row for his team, keep the perfect string going. And of course, probably the best ball of the bunch, Joey, rings up a 10 pin.
Definitely. There hasn't been a bad one in the bunch. I mean, they've all been kind of cold flush. But 10 pins are going to happen. That's part of the game. And now we can see their spare shooting prowess in action.
And John, this is only his 2nd season of organized bowling. Started bowling last year at the age of 14. And he already has a high game of 279 and a high series of 670.
And a solid game, as you can see. Good tempo, solid at the line, good spare shooter.
Absolutely. Plays baseball during the spring, so you can tell he's definitely a multi-sport athlete. We do get that a lot with these high school bowlers. They don't just bowl. They play football, baseball, other sports in the spring and fall, and this is their activity during the winter, competing for their schools.
Let's see if Justin makes a necessary adjustment from his opening shot, which crept a little high. Storm frantic in hand. Well, maybe an over adjustment.
Maybe, and he's not afraid to get that ball out on the lane. Past the front part of the lane, take a little bit of the lane out of play. You can see he's kind of confused looking back at his teammates there. And sometimes with these house patterns, you make that little bit of a move, and the extra oil in the middle of the lane makes the ball slide a little bit farther.
Well, you know, he's got a high rev rate, a lot of hand, and in the friction he's going to get overreaction. Yet if you move a touch deep into the oil, regardless of rev rate, it may not read the pattern quite quick enough. So there's times you have to adjust your speed as well as your angle of entry toward the pocket.
Yeah, and especially when you fight that puddle in the middle, sometimes larger moves than what you think are necessary. Nice conversion there by Justin Verheyen to keep his team within double digits. But Josh Bucko here throwing the ball well, and wow, how about that for a stinging lower 7-pin?
Yeah, but they're maintaining the pocket, leaving makeable spares. Should be no trouble with the conversion on the 7-pin, but on a house shot, it can be a little tricky.
Absolutely. And, you know, the adjustments that bowlers have to make, sometimes bowler goes, oh, house shots are too easy, that type of thing. I ran to Ryan Simonelli when I was working on PBA Extra Frame at the World Series of Bowling in Las Vegas, and he says he can't average more than 220 on a house shot because the adjustments he makes out on tour for those flatter, different type of patterns that they have out there.
It's a totally set of different adjustments.
Exactly. So you'll never, he goes, I hate bowling league. He goes, I can't make the right adjustments, and I got all these guys I know I'm better of out there beating me.
Luckily, the most of us listening and watching the shows here don't have PBA type games.
There's a kick out there by Brian Radway.
Yeah, solid shot there, and they're going to need support. One baggers won't get it done, at least in this opening match.
Yeah, I mean, right now they're down by 69 pins. The only thing that they have benefiting them right now is that Michael Hennessy is only working on a spare for Indian Trail.
Not for long. That was a great shot off his hand. I saw it coming.
Yeah, just 10 flush back in the pit, and you know that's the thing. You see the support of the whole team, no matter what. If it's a bad shot that a bowler's got to get a couple of pins back on a split or a nice flush strike, these teammates are out there supporting their friends.
Okay, Ricky Bros came just a touch light last time. Let's see if he can cut it loose and shred the rack. Deep inside line. Frozen rope, and it takes a lot of hand to get that ball to finish through the pocket when you're that deep.
Yeah, I mean, the house pattern here at Castle Lanes is about 45 feet in length. So even though there's a lighter concentration on the outsides, if you're playing the ball that deep in the middle, it takes a lot of hand to get it to turn over that last 6 or 7 feet on this lane pattern. Josh Williams stepping up, looking for another strike for his team. And how about scrambling up a little fruit salad there, as Ernie Schlegel would say back in the day?
Didn't that look like a Dick Weber kind of strike? Carried the wall shot, threw the 5-pin to the right there. Yeah. That was a Dick Weber strike.
Dick Weber, or as we've called it in the past here to keep it local, is Steve Grabowski.
Oh, we could do that as well.
Yes, indeed. The Steve Grabowski's made another appearance on our bowling shows, and unfortunately for Matt Hibbard, his ball speed doesn't let the Dick Weber strike happen. That head pin just comes off the sideboard way too fast and doesn't mix anything up.
And again, his speed may be just a touch firm for this house condition pattern, whereas at their home house, Jays and McGuanago, a beautiful center, his speed may be perfect.
So he's going to move well to the right on the approach here. Give it a little hook at the lane. No problem covering up, but it is a large lead of 70.
Yeah, I think
9 pins for Indian Trail right now.
Yeah, Matt knew that was an important shot. They need to keep that string alive, and again, one double when your opponents are pretty much striking at will just doesn't get it done. They're going to be in a big deficit, Phil, after game one.
Definitely will. And how about that for Ryan Wildenberg? Gets the wall shot, carries everything down, expands that lead out to 80 pins.
Yeah, and that's not luck. That's good roll on the ball. That's being lined up properly with your feet and target. That's using the correct type of ball and a good release off the hand.
Well, if you're a coach for Indian Trail, you're up by this many pins. What do you tell your team before You switch over to lane 4 for the second game of this match.
Well, you don't go into what's called prevent defense as they do in football sometimes, because that just prevents victory. You need to attack and stay aggressive and hope your opponents don't catch fire.
And we've seen it before a couple years ago at the Action Team Shootout. The 5 Horsemen were down 70 pins after the first game of a 2-game total pin match. Came back the second game and shot 279 to win that match and advance to the championship match. So Billy Hibbert looking to get at least a double here and knock that 79 pin lead down into the 60s. Nice off his hand the first time around, and he made that adjustment off that big 4 in the 5th frame.
Yeah, he made a great adjustment, and he's got the right speed and roll for this pattern, in my opinion.
So I want to thank our friends at Eileen's Bowling Buddy for all their support of high school bowling. A lot of our coaches use various Eileen's training aids. They keep their bowlers sharp or help them work on weaknesses of their game, keep them loose between shots. So always go to Eileen's Bowling Buddy, check out the latest and greatest training aids they have there. And wow, how about that for Billy Hibbert? That's surprising he left a 5-7 on that shot.
Yeah, that might be Billy's first 5-7 ever. Just unusual pin action, but again, he's playing inside the oil, and the volume we know is heavy. We know the pattern's long at 45 feet, and there are times it plays longer than 45 feet.
Let's see if he can do a little showing off here and at least get this covered, give his team a little fired up, and hey, that's a little momentum builder for game 2 for McGuanago. 179 for McGuanago, unfortunately down by 79 pins thanks to Indian Trail's opening 257. We'll be back with the second game of this championship match from Castle Lanes and Racine for the 2015 MidWinter High School Classic in just a couple of moments. Eileen's Bowling Buddy, used by high school and college coaches and members of the PBA Tour to train, warm up, and rehab. Get all the information at eileensbowlingbuddy.com.
Success has to be earned. Earned through hard work and dedication. There is no easy road. There are no shortcuts. You have to put in the time, get focused, and outwork your competition. Go earn it. Get motivated.
Indian Trail off to a convincing start in this 2-game total pin match, leading 257-178, 79 pin lead going into the second game. And tell you what, McGuanago's going to have to come out fast with a lot of strikes in this match to have any chance. And got a little lineup change here. Justin Verheyen out as leadoff, Brian Radway stepping up, and he struck his last time up on for his team of McGuanago.
Yeah, and I think Team McGuanago realizes they're going to need 250 or better to have a chance, because you can't expect your opponents to shoot under 180, especially on a nice condition.
And now with starting off with a 248-10, it's going to be a little tough getting to 250. That ball just lagged all the way to the pocket.
Well, the fact that he has the 4-pin up with the 2-8-10 makes it easier.
Yeah, well, they're going to bring in a lefty here. They're going to bring Jake Lipinski in, so the exact opposite we saw in game number 1 out of McGuanago. He's given that a shot and almost got a unique
caught
bounce.
it. That was a great attempt, and not an easy task to just come in and try and convert a big split.
No, but it's nice having that option with a couple of lefties on the team from McGuanago that they can sub in bowlers during the Baker format and maybe get a little advantage in spare making. John Beelan, 2 for 2 so far on strikes for Stephen Indian Trail. That's going to need some help.
Yeah, that was left off the hand, and you and I both saw it coming. And
yeah, that one he posted the shot and kind of just thumb over the top a little bit. Sometimes you see they try to give it a little extra. They think the lane's a little oilier, just kind of hit up on it a little bit more. But unfortunately, you still have to stay relaxed at the point of release, and he knew it when it was out of his hand. And I'll tell you, for a young man that's only been in his second season of organized bowling, I'd put him on my team in high school. I'd build a team around him, no doubt about that.
He's got a solid game. I mean, that's a big part of it. Good balance, good focus, good roll on the ball.
Smart move, gets himself 2.
So where exactly is Indian Trail?
It's in Kenosha. Where in Kenosha off the top of my head? I should have asked Coach Marty Williams before that. They bowl out at Tormson's Recreation Center in Kenosha where they practice and have their home matches. We mentioned McGuanago at Jay's Lanes in McGuanago. And from new face here from McGuanago coming in the game number 2, Brandon Robinson. A little bit of the crooked elbow style reminiscent of Earl Anthony back in the day, but unfortunately Brandon, they're coming off the bench. Left it wide, and I don't think they have another righty on the bench they're going to go to, so Brandon's going to have to pick up the spare himself. Not easy with the super washout.
Well, will he go left of the head pin or right of the head pin? I mean, the logical way is right of the head pin, but the percentages tell us differently.
I usually shoot at this spare left of the head pin. I'll try to make it like the 1-4 is a baby split, and just too much of that head pin for Brandon to get any extra out of it. So it's going to leave McGuanago pretty much needing to strike out and shoot 257 to have any hope in this match, and that's assuming Indian Trail doesn't throw any doubles on the board. But
yeah, they just need a 9-bagger, that's all.
Josh Bucko here, been in the pocket both times, moved a little deeper, a little more of a slow roll, and how about that? So these teams got the practice on both lanes before the TV matches started. They got 7.5 minutes on each lane, and with McGuanago being the lower seed, they didn't have lane choice, and I think Indian Trail saw something on lane 3, knowing they can move to lane 4 maybe and kind of slow wheel it. And
well, I mean, the quality of talent on both teams is probably a wash, maybe even an edge for McGuanago, but it takes great shot making when there's only a couple shots a game for each player, and we just saw a great shot right there.
Yeah, Ricky making a great shot for McGuanago and trying to get his team a little fired up back there. It's not easy to do when you're down by a bunch of sticks at this point in time.
Yeah, and he's in the number 3 slot, which some people think might be the weak spot for the bowler, but I always like to put one of our strongest players in the number 3 slot when our team bowled competitively, because it keeps the team grounded and supported.
Exactly. Right there, a big break for Michael Hennessy, crossing over, putting a double up on the board for Indian Trail and getting that lead out to triple digits.
And now we got the home run hitters coming up from McGuanago. We'll see if the Hibbard boys can catch a little strike action here.
Once again, I want to thank Phil and Patty Onco, everybody here at Castle Lanes for all the support, not just of this Midwinter High School Classic, but all the high school bowling that happens in the center. And Matt Hibbard just left out of the hand and no chance to break up that big split, and it's pretty much match over now.
Well, yeah, you hate to say that in the 4th frame, but it appears gloom and doom from Team McGuanago.
But still, it's something to build off for these bowlers. They got another month of competition left in the season after the Midwinter Classic before they try their luck up at High School State this year in Madison. They'll be at Prairie Lanes for the girls and Boulevard Lanes for the boys, so a couple of very nice centers out in the Madison area. And I think Sun Prairie's going to like being at Prairie Lanes. That's their home center.
I would think that would be somewhat of an advantage.
Yeah. We had one team from the Madison area come in on the girls' side, Madison La Follette. Had a 7th place overall finish out of the girls' side of things, so it was very nice getting that team in. And once again, teams from all across southeast and eastern Wisconsin participating in this Midwinter Classic. Leading qualifiers today were Sussex Hamilton, but unfortunately, after their first round bye, they got knocked off. And how many falls was second qualifier, and they got knocked off by McGuanago making their way to the TV show. So as the number 9 seed for Indian Trail and number 10 seed for McGuanago out of the 14 teams that bowled, they did quite an impressive run through this bracket format, best of 5 game Baker matches. Hey, there's one for Billy.
Good shot from Billy. Billy like to thank Jim Nanneman and Bob Mackey for their coaching efforts, as well as the coaches on the high school team.
Jim Nanneman, of course, runs the pro shop down at River City Lanes in Waterford. His daughter Jessica's made a couple of her TV shows, going to Monmouth University in New Jersey right now, and she's a NCAA academic All-American player.
Jim is very proud of his daughter, as well he should be. keeping that Nanaman name going strong.
Ryan Wildenberg throwing pins around like they're balsa wood, but can't quite get that 10 pin out. He's another bowler, very late start, didn't start bowling until he was in high school. He's been bowling for 3 years, has two 289 games and a high set of 762. Gets that 10 pin covered up. We're going to do our commercial break for this game. Join us from Castellines and Racine for the rest of this boys final for the 2015 MidWinter High School Classic in just a moment. Well, boys match here pretty much no longer in doubt. Indian Trail with a 109 pin lead over McGuanago with 5 frames to go. I think we're going to have an exciting girls final though between New Berlin Eisenhower and Waukesha West coming up after this, with Jake Lipinski stepping up in the 6th frame for McGuanago, and once again comes up a little light, leaving 369.
Yeah, that left side doesn't look quite as friendly as the right side, at least today.
I used to bowl junior leagues with Jake's aunt Kim Lipinski, a great lefty in her own right. Moved to Vegas quite a few years ago, has lived out there for a while, and for a couple of years at state tournament, Jake's dad Scott was part of my team.
Yeah, we can't forget Grandpa Roger. In fact, Jake wanted to thank Roger and Dad both for all the coaching and help they've given him throughout the years.
Yes, indeed. Lots of bowling history in that Lipinski family. Now John Beelan stepping up again. Likes to do hunting and fishing when he gets the chance. Well, he hasn't gone fishing for any strikes today. He's been pretty solid in the pocket so far.
He's in the right bowling center for hunting and fishing. If you look around, the outdoor motif from the North Woods everywhere at Castle Lanes.
Absolutely. So, Jason Belmonte made an appearance here at Castle Lanes right before the World Series of Bowling in Las Vegas, and he was just he couldn't believe how nice everything was in the center, and he thought the greatest thing about the center was the tiles in the ceiling with all the 300 and 800 series that were painted on them. He sent pictures of it to his dad back home in Australia and said, I think we should do this in our family's bowling center. Boy, Brandon Robinson makes a great shot there, and when it rains, it pours from McGuanago.
That's it. And in fact, we'll see Jason this week. We'll have to ask them if they incorporated that into the ceiling tiles down in Australia.
Yeah, big swing for the PBA bowlers coming to Milwaukee. We'll be bowling during the first week of this airing on Time Warner Cable SportsChannel. We'll be at AMF Bolero, and then after that, the second week, if you're in the Green Bay area, you can go watch the best in the world bowl the USBC Masters at Ashwaubenon Bowl in Green Bay. So lots of professional bowling action in Wisconsin during the 2 weeks this show is airing on Time Warner Cable SportsChannel. Thanks again to our friends there for our 8th season with them of exciting high school, youth, and adult bowling action. A sub here, Ryan Tilo in for Indian Trail, and not an easy thing to do when you've been on the bench for a couple of games and coach goes, hey, I know we're up by a bunch, but you want to get up there and throw a strike for us?
Yeah, just a little bit of pressure on them, but it's nice to get your feet in the water, so to speak.
Ryan won 300 game under his belt, high series of 761. Another bowler likes to go hunting and fishing outside of his bowling time, and a nice cover there by Ryan to keep things clean. Only one open frame for Indian Trail so far through the 1 game and 7 frames of competition.
Let's see if Ricky can do Dad Ricky proud here with another strike. Ricky's been a friend and customer of ours for many years, using a Marvel Pearl from Storm.
And we saw him move quite deep in his last couple of shots, playing almost inside a 4th arrow, and he gets Boy, there's your kind of MVP for this match for
I would say
McGuanago.
for Team McGuanago, you'd have to give it to Ricky. He's just getting the job done.
Yeah, 3 out of 4. Watch that ball work. Turnover just enough. 6-pin just gets that 10-pin out. Exactly what he's looking for there. Michael Hennessy looking to keep things going here for Indian Trail. Keep throwing marks on the board. Needs to come up a little harder, and it does. Shreds the rack. Great shot there by Michael Hennessy. These number 3 bowlers for both teams between McGuanago and Indian Trail. Great job by them today, Joey. Like you said, you like to have a strong bowler in that position.
I really do. I mean, you want your igniter on top, you want your clutch player in the 5 slot, but you want probably your most solid player in the middle. But then you got a player like Matt Hibbert who could take any of those positions with his power, and he shows it off a little bit right there.
Scrambles a few pins up, gets the 4-7 to go out last, and puts a double on the board for McGuanago. I believe that is their second double only of the TV match, so hard to get caught up to Indian Trail when you only have 2 doubles on the board through 18 frames.
But, if they did another 2-game match on these same lanes, I think the outcome might be different, because you kind of go to school the first time on a lane or a pair, and you learn from it. And you learn your speed has to be this, your targets has to be this. And it almost looks like Indian Trails is kind of going away a little bit.
Yeah, and so a lot of coaches bring their teams down to the MidWinter Classic just to get them the experience of bowling against teams they're not familiar with, teams they don't normally bowl with in district competition. McGuanago and Indian Trail wouldn't see each other before the state tournament if it wasn't for this event. So, and to get the mental games building for these young bowlers, and even though McGuanago is going to go down to a pretty rousing defeat here, the players and coaches are going to build on this for the second half of their district season and making their way to the state tournament.
Well, and that's it. This may be the motivation they need to maybe work just that little bit harder on their games, learn speed control, learn angles maybe a little better on different house conditions as well as sport conditions, and they may take that state title. You never know.
Now, looking at this right now, I mean, Indian Trail pulled out their match in the semifinal. The anchor bowler from Union Grove had a chance to double in the 10th frame to make TV. Got the first one and rang up a 10-pin on the second one. I think Union Grove could be a sleeper team for the high school state tournament this year. And they're a team with a young lady. Her name slips me off the top of the head at the moment, but I'll tell you what, very impressive team, especially for a team that's co-ed, that has a female bowling in the number 4 spot. And a nice shot there by Justin. I'm sure he was looking to start off the day with that earlier.
He stayed nice and low on that shot. He didn't come up through it. And you can just see the quickness and power he has when he goes, through the pins. That ball just sucks him off the deck.
Well, thought maybe we see a sub here for Ryan, but Indian Trail only brought 6 to the event. They had a maximum roster of 7 they could bring. So they decided to bring 6, and they're going to let Ryan finish this off. Creeps a little high, but not a lot of concern on that shot. Knows the match is well in hand. Ryan, I want to thank all the coaches at Indian Trail, especially Marty Williams for all the help. His dad, Andy, his mom, Stephanie.
Speaking of Marty Williams, he's a good bowler in his own right. He's bowled with us a number of times over the years. Fun guy to be around.
And you'll see that with a lot of the high school teams, and the coaches that coach them are parents of the bowlers in a lot of cases, but very good bowlers themselves, and bowlers that have adapted to coaching the modern power game. Ralph Herbert isn't the world's greatest cranker. Marty Williams isn't the world's greatest cranker, but they really know how to get these bowlers lined up, focused, working on their game.
Well, they've been around, so they've experienced things that the kids have yet to experience, and they can pass that on and give them their years of wisdom.
Well, boys final complete. Indian Trail takes home a convincing 101-pin victory over McGuanago. We'll get the handshakes in. We'll let the girls come on. It'll be Waukesha West versus New Berlin Eisenhower from Castle Lanes and Racine for that girls final in just a couple of minutes. Make sure you stay tuned. Eileen's Bowling Buddy, used by high school and college coaches and members of the PBA Tour to train, warm up, and rehab. Get all the information at eileensbowlingbuddy.com. Why do we have so many of our televised tournaments at Castle Lanes? Because we love being part of the wild side of bowling. If you're ready to get in touch with your wild side, go to castlelanes.com. Barbier's Italian Inn, featured in onmilwaukee.com's In Search of the Perfect Pizza in January 2013. Near Miller Park on Bluemont Road and on Milwaukee Avenue in South Milwaukee. Boys finals in the books. Indian Trail, our boys champion today here from the 2015 MidWinter High School Classic presented by Eileen's Bowling Buddy. Now the girls final, and two of the strongest teams in the state right here, Joey, between New Berlin Eisenhower and Waukesha West, both out of the Milwaukee area. Eisenhower defeated last year's MidWinter Classic champions Indian Trail 3-1, while Waukesha West defeated Burlington, another strong team, last year's State Division II champion, 3-1. So no favorites to pick in this match for sure.
Well, we'll see a little bit more enthusiasm in the matches. Typically the girls tend to yell and cheer a little bit more than the boys.
A little more creative on their cheering as well when they do cheer.
And that all adds to the excitement.
Elizabeth Master-Petro leading things off here for New Berlin Eisenhower, and how about that? 10 back.
That's a pretty good opening shot for a 16-year-old.
New Berlin Eisenhower does all their practicing and has their home matches at New Berlin Bowl. You can see Hank Poznansky, member of the Poznansky family, owners of New Berlin Bowl.
And Bluemont Bowl.
And Bluemont Bowl as well. And then Waukesha West here, Sydney Mesterhazy leading things off. For that team, they bowl out of Sunset Bowl in Waukesha. And their anchor bowler, Jalen Hanen, their family owns Sunset Bowl in Waukesha. So lots of family ties between these two teams and their home centers here.
There's 2 more sheets, so
Sydney just crawling up a little bit high.
Just about a board high in the pocket. Looked a little left off the hand, but it just kind of held pocket all the way down. Using looks like a Pearl Roto Grip uproar.
So, yeah, you'll see these ladies playing the lanes much straighter than we saw the boys. You might see a couple of corner pins the boys may have kicked out, the girls might leave, but the girls are all very good with their spare games. Very few missed single pins I saw during the qualifying and match play rounds of this tournament out of the girls.
In fact, there was a young man last night in the state of Ohio using the same ball as Sydney, the uproar, shot 900, the 26th, I believe.
I believe so, and that was done in Toledo, and a great shot there by Molly Brandos, trying to maybe lead her team to a 900. Well, we're only bowling 2 games again. 2-game total pin match, so the most they can shoot is 600.
Well, I think Dave Brandos taught her that, because that's a nice high, hard one, a lot of power on that, and opening double is the way you want to start.
Yeah, Dave, another one of the coaches here for New Berlin Eisenhower. Noelle Buck stepping up for Waukesha West, and you can see it's just one of those balls, a little spinny at the release, not a lot of grab on the last couple of feet on the lane, and a little bit of deflection. Could have been worse. At least it's only an 8-pin for Noelle.
All right, now the 2 lanes watching play today, it seems like 4 is a little tougher carrying than lane 3. And it's just an observation we see.
Yeah, every lane is different. Even on a pair of lanes, in a lot of cases you'll see one lane hook 1 or 2 boards more for these bowlers than the other, or the ball goes 3 or 4 feet longer before it hooks. And as much as they try to make the lanes the same, being of synthetic materials, there's always little things, whether it's installed or a screw being a little looser than another one holding the lane panel down to the surface.
Right, and they do have the same amount of oil on each lane, the same distance, the same shape, as we see Turkey there, another great shot.
Yes, Claire Chucka.
But the lanes can play differently.
Claire Chucka getting that strike for New Berlin Eisenhower, 3 in a row. Another bowling family there for Claire, her brother Kyle and her dad Paul, great bowlers themselves. Maddie Brandos, we've seen her on a Youth Challenge telecast previously. She likes to play the lane straight, and boy, even with that polished ball, gets that ball to go 10 back in the pit.
Well, you need good roll when you're going that direct with a polished ball, but there was, as you see, no deflection.
And a lot of it's about the strength of the ball rolling at the pocket, not necessarily the strength of the overall hook of the ball, is really correct?
That is correct. Balls go through 3 phases as they roll. Skid, hook, and then roll. And roll will give you the best pin carry through the pins. And she did that perfectly for Danielle.
Danielle Chip right there, 4 in a row. Boy, we saw in our opening match with Indian Trail starting with the first 5 and jumping out to a big lead, but Waukesha West not blinking yet. they've got a couple of marks on the board up with a strike. And Alyssa Athis, we've seen her on quite a few TV shows in the past. Last year, in 2013, she won the Top Gun. The last year we had it at Shorewood High School. And a big break there to just leave herself a 3-pin.
It should be an easier conversion since that added pin fell, so she leaves just the 3-pin instead of the 3-6. Can't chop one pin, can you?
No, you can make it interesting and barely tickle it down, barely hit the outside of the pin, but she's all over that one. Covers it up nicely, and the team's only down by 31 right now, but that can be easily made up with a double or 3-bagger of Waukesha West's own. If Maddie Brandos can expand the string of strikes here for New Berlin Eisenhower to 5.
Maddie, a junior at 16 years of age, also Dave's daughter. Just a touch light in the pocket.
Yeah, looked a little quick out of her hand. Looked like she was on the target line she wanted to use. And sometimes you see that. Bowlers get a little amped up, want to make sure they get the ball on line, and they just use a little speed, get off the hand a little quick. And with Maddie's spare game here, she should have no problem covering up this 2-4-5. I don't think I black clouded her on that one at all, Joey.
No, that one you hit it right in the pocket, covering the 2 and 5 pin into the 4.
And, boy, if they did a Rookie of the Year in high school bowling like they do in college bowling, this young lady here, I think, would be the Rookie of the Year in the state of Wisconsin. Jalen Hanen, freshman for Waukesha West, finished in the top 16 last year at Junior Gold in Buffalo for the 15 and under girls division nationwide. So very impressive. And a great trip on that 4-pin.
Yeah, a lot of forward roll on the ball, so she gets good pin carry. No chance of a solid 9 when that ball's end over end roll.
A great shot to get us into this commercial break. We'll be back with the second half of this opening match for the girls in just a moment. Eileen's Bowling Buddy, used by high school and college coaches and members of the PBA Tour to train, warm up, and rehab. Get all the information at eileensbowlingbuddy.com. Why do we have so many of our televised tournaments at Castle Lanes? Because we love being part of the wild side of bowling. If you're ready to get in touch with your wild side, go to castlelanes.com. New Berlin Eisenhower with a 28-pin lead over Waukesha West halfway through our opening game of this 2-game total pin match from Castle Lanes and Racine. Elizabeth Master-Petro looking to get another string of strikes built from New Berlin Eisenhower. Very nice off the hand, and
yeah, that's a bad break right there. Yeah, you noticed her right elbow under the ball through the release, which is ideal for maximum leverage.
Yeah, sometimes you see bowlers starting off, or you see out of some of the, especially out of the young lady players, they get that elbow rolling to the outside a little early, and it takes a little power off their game, and not too many rolling elbows between these two teams, Joey.
Well, it's good fundamentals they're taught. You want to try and keep your swing as close to the body as possible. Hand behind the ball, head over the ball at release point. So many things we have to do correctly, and all it takes is one little thing being wrong, and you generally don't strike.
A little speed mistake, little revolutions off the hand mistake, and you can take a shot that's right on your target line and make it look pretty ugly by the time it gets to the pins. See what Sydney Mesterhazy can do here, bouncing back off that 4-pin she left in the first frame, and unfortunately comes up high again, and 6-7 split's going to put Waukesha West down by a few more pins here, most likely.
Yeah, and you don't want to fall too far behind in your opening match. Even though it is a 2-game set, it's nice to keep it close. Within 10 pins is always good.
Yeah, when you know that you can get back into matches with 2 and 3 baggers instead of 7 and 8 baggers. It's a little bit of a format change for the bowlers once they get the TV. A little different outlook with a 2-game total pin match. The teams bowled 10 qualifying Baker games today. Then were seeded into the respective brackets, and then there was best 3 out of 5 game matches. So even if you had a bad game where you shot 120, the pinfall didn't matter. It was simple match play. You can move on. Now this format, 2-game total pin. Yeah, you got to make sure you get every stick down you can. And is that going to go?
Just a little light through the 5 in front of the 7.
We saw that in the match for Indian Trail. They had one of those similar leaves where the 5 just didn't want to do the work on the 7. And probably just a little bit farther in the pocket, that shot carries. See what Miley Brandos can do here. Whoop. Thought she was going to throw that one a little farther left than she did. She's got that interesting follow-through where at the conclusion of her slide, she pulls that right foot forward to maintain her balance, but the ball's well out of her hand. We see lots of unique styles. Even on the PBA Tour, Stu Williams with a short follow-through, and obviously all the two-handed bowlers we see nowadays. There's no right way to throw the bowling ball.
You see her directing traffic there with that ball. She missed her target a little left and figured why not point that way and maybe catch a break. But
she probably just didn't want to go high, obviously.
Right.
And if you get it over enough, I mean, this isn't a spare I would imagine Noelle shoots very often, the 3-5-6. This could have been something where with the last match with McGuanago, they maybe would have brought one of their lefties in to shoot at the spare since they do it more often.
I think I'd sooner have a righty throw at this spare, though.
Less of a chance to chop, one would think.
Wouldn't you think?
But you got that 3-6 combo, and that's always kind of touchy as well. So, yeah, whenever you leave more than one pin up, there is always a chance to make it worse. Let's see what Claire Chucka can do here. Struck her last time up.
Claire, 15 years of age, sophomore.
That needs to roll up pretty hard. Wow, that rolled up harder than I thought it was going to.
She got that ball to spark off the friction there, and
this is going to open a little bit of a door for Waukesha West to see a little daylight. I didn't think she missed any farther left than she had in her previous shot. Maybe it was just a little bit of a speed-sensitive.
Well, she probably sees her brother throwing it far out to the right and bringing it back in the pocket, but he's got a little bit more speed.
So, well, that drops the lead down to 24 pins for New Berlin Eisenhower, and Maddie Beckers can get another strike here for her team. Start building their way back. Maddie's been bowling for 7 years, high game of 279, and lucky to not leave that 7-pin with the 3-6-10.
She actually got that ball to hook up a little bit, getting a little bit further right on the lane. It hit some friction.
And Maddie's interest outside of bowling? More bowling.
Now that's dedication.
That is.
Typically you would see bowling, shopping, boys,
Yeah.
TV,
No, more bowling for Maddie.
cooking, but just bowling. And with a spare conversion like that, I can see it's paying off.
Exactly. 27-pin lead for New Berlin Eisenhower. 2 frames to go in this opening game of the 2-game total pin match. And a little housekeeping here. You see, with all these bowlers, they use strike ball, spare ball. You can only have 10 balls on the rack at a time, so sometimes, and I think with the similar bowling balls, Danielle here have to make sure she finds the one with her size finger holes in it there. A couple of those Storm Optimuses on the rack. Or would that be Optimi if it was plural?
I believe Optimi would be correct.
Bring out my old high school Latin from my year at Thomas More High School.
Danielle, also a sophomore. A great shot there. High series of 597. If I was a betting man, she will eclipse that shortly. Shoot her first 600 series.
Yeah, just crawled up a little high. And, wow, another one. Another bowler that likes a little hunting and fishing outside the bowling season here.
So she would be a sportswoman.
Yes, indeed. Very deliberate to the line. 5 steps. That's got a little help to hold on. And, yeah, she was just a dead pull left on that shot. And Alyssa Athos wasting no time getting him on the approach. She's seeing a little more daylight for her team.
Well, smelling blood in the water, you want to jump on your opponents when an opening happens.
We saw Alyssa's mother Jill a couple of years ago with an adult youth tournament we had here on Time Warner Cable SportsChannel. Bowl with her. She wanted to thank her mom and dad for all the support. Rolling up nice, just can't quite get the 10.
Yeah, pretty good shot, just a little soft in the pocket. Looks for that spare ball. It'd be hard finding that spare ball. extra balls laying around.
Yeah, there's probably in the set tee area right now. There's probably 30 plus bowling balls in that area between the 14 girls that are out here bowling right now. At least to a girl, if not more. And even the straighter players, even the young ladies, they know to take that polyester ball, to take any chance of a hook spot or a wet spot in the lane out of play and just go straight at those spares.
Maddie Brandos, also a junior, 279 high game, high series of 689, flirting with that 700 series.
Yeah, we saw her with a third place finish with her partner Freddie Peterson at the 2015 Wisconsin High School Mixed Doubles Championship, losing to the eventual champions, Billy Hibbert and Courtney Ermish from McGuanago. And I don't think she's too worried about that shot right there. I think she just, another shot where she just got out of it a little quick, and I think she's going to get focused on a little cleaner release on lane 4 when she moves lanes after, of course, picking up this spare. And you can't make it any better than dead on the 2 and 8.
That is the only way to make that spare.
I had an incident a couple of weeks ago in league where I left the 3-9 being left-handed, and I tickled the 3-pin over and got the solid 9 on it. And yeah, if I probably hit the 3-pin a little bit harder, I probably would have deflected around the 9-pin. So it's an interesting little spare where sometimes...
So you're up to your trick shots again.
I was up to my trick shots. I've had a couple of those over the years at AMF Bolero on Wednesday nights with my partner in crime, Mark Dempsey from Barbier's Italian Inn.
Another good shot coming just a touch light.
And a pretty solid game for New Berlin Eisenhower. 198, only one open. But if Jalen Hanen can get a double for her team here and knock that lead down, pardon me, 2 opens for New Berlin Eisenhower. That's right. There's.
Right. Yeah, it started with a 4-bagger, and I mean, you got to be happy with a 198, even though you were hoping for more. It's still a lead.
And a bad break there for Jalen. Scrambles a bunch of pins around that 7-pin and nothing gets to it.
Right, so only 2 strikes for Waukesha West. They're going to have to switch shoes and put the striking shoes on, take the spare shoes off. But they are going to what could be the higher scoring lane.
Yeah, we noticed that in our boys match, obviously. The opening game for Indian Trail was 257 on lane 3. So Jalen taking a little extra time here. Make sure that everything's set. Don't want to have any extra moisture on your hand if you don't like that in your thumb hole.
Yet if you're looking for a more secure grip, a lot of bowlers will blow in the thumb hole, put a little bit of moisture in there as she covers the 7-pin.
Yep, switch to that polyester ball, which is probably a good thing there, as left as it was at the start. I think on this house pattern here at Castle Lanes, her strike ball would have hooked away from that 7-pin.
Well, she may experiment a little bit on this fill ball here, not trying to lose count, but seeing if there's something she's missing from another ball.
And once again, she took that wrist device off the shooter's spare. See a lot of young players using those to start off with. I'm not a huge fan of them. I like them to help bowlers learn to keep a firm wrist and turn the ball a little bit, but nowadays the power game is breaking that wrist back and letting the fingers get up and through the ball.
But you don't see too many girls with the collapsing wrist at release. They want to keep it firm and create as many revolutions that way, whereas the young men have a different game. That yo-yo release is pretty popular.
Yes, it is, and we get to see one more game out of these young ladies. They're going to switch lanes here for our second game of this match. Join us back from Castle Lanes in Racine for the rest of our MidWinter High School Classic Girls Final.
Success has to be earned. Earned through hard work and dedication. There is no easy road. There are no shortcuts. You have to put in the time, get focused, and outwork your competition. Go earn it. Get motivated.
Eileen's Bowling Buddy, used by high school and college coaches and members of the PBA Tour to train, warm up, and rehab. Get all the information at eileensbowlingbuddy.com. Barbier's Italian Inn, featured in onmilwaukee.com's In Search of the Perfect Pizza in January 2013. Near Miller Park on Blue Mound Road and on Milwaukee Avenue in South Milwaukee. Game 1 of the 2015 Midwinter High School Classic presented by Eileen's Bowling Buddy in the books. New Berlin Eisenhower with a 17-pin lead. Teams have now switched lanes. Waukesha left west will lead off on lane 3 for this game. Sydney Mesterhazy still leading off. No changes to the lineup for Waukesha West. We'll have a little bit of a lineup change for New Berlin Eisenhower. Will go through as those first 5 bowlers start this game.
So do the girls get practice on each lane when they make their move?
Not when they make the move. They each got 7.5 minutes of practice prior to the TV match starting. And so the higher seed, which in this case was New Berlin Eisenhower, they're the number 1 overall qualifying seed, had lane choice, so they chose to start the first game on lane 3. Knowing that they would finish their 10th frame last on game 4, so on game 2, pardon me. So that could put a little extra pressure on the anchor bowlers as they step up in the 10th frame with this match being close. Needs to get the ball to roll over a little harder to get both pins.
Just enough. Yeah, we've seen that lead a number of times today. The 2-5, just a little light in the pocket. It's not as though the ball is reacting quite strong enough through that last 10 feet of the lane, and part of that's the girls' roll.
Yeah, and even with the boys, we saw a couple of 2-5s as well, just because maybe lane 3 just might be hooking a little bit less overall than lane 4. And a good break there for
a great
Abby.
Break. Yeah, you don't want to start off leaving yourself a 5-6, because not a common spirit attempt for a right-handed bowler.
And not easy for Abby Marzakowski here to step up. First game, she sat on the bench, cheering her teammates on, and now you got to jump out here and bowl leadoff.
Yeah, Abby in 9th grade, and you mastered that last name, Phil, like I've never seen you do before.
Growing up on the south side of Milwaukee, you got to see plenty of last names ending with ski and having a lot of unusual vowel and consonant combinations in them. So
yeah, she makes the 5 using her deviate Lemonhead. She may have got that ball because she just likes the name.
I like the candy. I'm a big Lemonhead fan. Noelle Buck stepping up for Waukesha West, looking to get a break on the crossover, and she does. And
we haven't seen many crossovers today. You know, the kids have been pretty good hitting that 1-3, or at least very close to it.
A couple high fives going back, knows that's a nice break for her team. And Noelle Buck was interesting. You looked at her high game there, 274 for an interesting high game. Don't see that score too often. And a big break there for Molly Brandos, getting that 4-pin out late.
Well, you know, Molly does know how to score. She's got a high game of 289, high series 714, and she's only 16 years of age, so, I mean, she's going to crush those numbers as time goes by.
Oh, absolutely. Plays a lot of volleyball outside of the bowling season, and a nice cover there by Molly to get the 6 and 10 out. Still a 15-pin lead for New Berlin Eisenhower, but Maddie Beckers, if she can strike here, get her team a double, can cut that lead to single digits.
4-step approach, she got it out nice, good roll, but again, just a touch shy of that pocket, and that just could be that little bit lower rev rate the girls have. The ball just doesn't quite make it up that hill.
Yeah, you watch the ball tip right there, and just kind of with that pearl cover, looked like it actually rolled out a little bit, like it used a lot of energy when it got to the end of the oil pattern and just had nothing left.
Right, and Mo Pinnell calls it hook out because balls, again, go through 3 phases, skid, hook, roll, but you'd still need some angle of entry through that roll phase for it to drive and blow the 5 into the 7. And she makes a nice spare conversion.
Good way to cover that up, take a little bit of that chop out of play, get the 2-pin on the left side, let the 2-pin hit the 5 and the ball take out the 4. And you know, you mentioned earlier, Joey, about having one of your stronger bowlers in the number 3 spot. I think the coaches may have overheard you here from New Berlin Eisenhower. They moved Elizabeth Mastapetro into that number 3 spot from leadoff in game 1.
You know, it's so important because you want stability. You want someone who strikes and does not open, so they can build it up for the hammers in the number 4 and 5 position. And that was a good shot off her hand, just crept a little high, but I think I'm seeing lane 4 hook a little bit earlier and stronger than lane 3, so she may have hit exactly what she wanted. It just needs to be a little different.
Yeah, let's see if the coaches and or players pass the word along to their teammates, because you can see right there, that ball was getting near the pocket. She looked pretty confident that it was going to strike, and it really jumped that last couple of feet in front of the 1-3.
She wants to thank ball driller Dwight Albrecht for his coaching help, as well as ball drilling, and she gets robbed on that spare, throwing the 4 around the 7.
And Waukesha West finds themselves pulled up to dead even in this match, thanks to that bad break, unfortunately.
You know, I had one of those last night, Phil, where I took the 4 off the 7 straight back.
It takes talent to do that, Joey.
Well,
you can't teach that kind of talent.
Uncanny accuracy and bad luck.
Melissa Athos, how about that for good luck?
Well, that's the way to get her done, and that was just a high, hard one, which we haven't seen as many as I thought we'd be seeing.
And this match, dead even with Danielle Chip stepping up.
Yeah, ball finished right behind the 5-pin, splitting the 8-9.
Look at all of Alyssa's teammates back there, willing that ball into the 1-3 pocket.
It'd be nice if we could will it into the pocket, but it takes a good release. Once the ball's gone, it's gone.
That ball holds pocket. Wow, I thought that was going to creep a little high, but Danielle got it to hold.
Nice shot leading into the 5th frame.
Want to thank Motive Bowling, associate sponsor of this Midwinter High School Classic, and our title sponsor of this year's 2015 Top Gun High School Singles Invitational.
All right, and I salute you for having Motive on board. They have an array of products that are not only taking the PBA by storm, but a lot of locals are switching over to Motive and seeing how good they really are.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, between the Motive products I have in my bag that you've drilled up for me, along with using Eileen's bowling buddies, because I can't get to the lanes as often as I want to keep in, I guess, bowling shape, you can say, off the lanes, I'm up 10 pins over last year. Jalen Hanen coming close to getting that big double for her team there, just leaving that 4-pin. I'm sure she'll have no problem moving cross lane and picking up this spare. Keep her team at even in this match.
Well, they only have a few pins to make up, and it's going to take a double or turkey on their part and maybe a little help from their opponent.
So right now with Maddie Brando stepping up, her team working on a strike, she can get her team a 10-pin lead in the match, getting into this commercial break. See if she moves a little bit off of what her teammates are. It looks like she's moved a little left with her feet from where she was on lane 3, so she's seen those balls for her teammates hooking high.
That's the right move because, oh, that was a great move. She made the move into the oil, got it to the friction, and the only true tap in bowling.
Why does it seem like always the best, purest shots off your hands are the only ones that leave the stone 8 or stone 9?
You know, it's funny you say that, and it's fortunate for us we don't have that many pure shots, but that was one of her best shots of the day. No trouble with the conversion. You can just use your strike line for that.
Absolutely. Covers it up. We are all even with 5 frames to go in this girls' final from Castle Lanes and Racine. Join Joe Serrano and I back for the rest of this match in just a moment. Eileen's Bowling Buddy, used by high school and college coaches and members of the PBA Tour to train, warm up, and rehab. Get all the information at eileensbowlingbuddy.com. Barbier's Italian Inn, featured in onmilwaukee.com's In Search of the Perfect Pizza in January 2013. Near Miller Park on Blue Mountain Road and on Milwaukee Avenue in South Milwaukee. Well, we saved the best match for last today, apparently. We're trying to, but we're all even. 5 frames to go here in this 2-game Total Pin Championship match from Castle Lanes and Racine for the 2015 Midwinter High School Classic, presented by Eileen's Bowling Buddy. Sydney Mesterhazy stepping up for Waukesha West, with both teams working on spares.
Oh, that's a great shot off the hand, just a little steep on the back end, leaves a solid 4. You know, she's got a nice game, a nice swing, a nice release. I would recommend, if she wants to work on any one part of her game, is just getting a little knee bend in there, and I think she may rise 1 or 2 levels. What do you think?
Absolutely.
Phil?
I mean, get a little more ball speed in there with it too, a little more knee bend. That'll help get that ball through a little bit quicker and cleaner. And yeah, and she's got her equipment matched up well. She doesn't use super strong equipment trying to make the ball hook. She's using a very tame piece of equipment, just letting the ball do the work down lane. And
well, that's the right way to attack it. Too many of the youngsters, even a lot of adults, always want to go with the biggest, strongest cores and covers, and they don't always give you the best matchup on a lot of today's patterns, especially when you want to try and play closer to the friction area of the lane, which would be an outside line.
well, Cassie Sherbarth stepping up now, putting in a substitute in the 6th frame. And once again, we see where a bowler's on the bench for a while, and you know, as much as they try to stay loose back there, sometimes you get a little nervous tension, and Cassie just pitched that one out to the right. But she's got the pocket to shoot at.
Well, and that helps. It's better than a 4-6. In fact, even a gutter ball can be a better lead, let's say, than a 4-6 in the pocket, because at least it's makeable.
So very low. That arm swing got a little out to the right
It's a
there.
much better shot, but a bad break on the chop.
So, well, for the first time all day, Waukesha West finds themselves in the lead. Going into the 7th frame here, working on a spare for Noelle Buck.
Well, the 7th frame, it's kind of like the 4th quarter in a football game. This is when the first 3 quarters don't matter much. It's how you perform when it matters.
They need some help,
And
and
gets a good break, leaving just the 3.
so good count on that spare as well, because right now, these 2-game total pin matches, every pin counts, and these coaches probably, during the little commercial break we had between the 5th and 6th frames, were reminding their bowlers every pin counts. Well, Noelle Buck moves herself to the left side of the approach, gives herself as much error room as possible, and no problem, solid on that 3-pin.
We all need error room, don't we, Phil?
Sometimes more times than others, it seems like. Sometimes I think when I'm commentating, I need a little error room on the airtime.
Well, we get mulligans now and then, but we'll see if Molly can bring her team back from their small deficit. Good release, a lot of turn, 10 in the pit.
And that interesting follow-through that she has, she really gets through the bomb of that shot. Yeah, her trail leg comes back forward, but she makes it work for her. And when you're getting 10 in the pit like that, it's not like you're going to change anything in the middle of a match.
Right, and those things can change over time. I mean, everyone's bowling style tends to change a little bit year to year, if you want it to or not.
So we've got another substitute in, Brittany Vonks for Waukesha West, and she has the same issues that Cassie had for New Berlin Eisenhower with getting that shot out to the right.
So you want to hit this in the pocket, I would presume, but you got that pesky 7-pin in the corner.
Yeah, that's the toughest part to pick up, is getting enough angle into the pocket where you're not sending that 2-pin. It doesn't have the help with the 4 missing, so you may go around it or just send it just inside of it. Much better shot on the second time around. Covered it with the ball, but unfortunately, as we see with a lot of crossover hits, nothing gets to the 5-pin, and the lead goes back to New Berlin Eisenhower by 5 pins.
5 pins, so we wanted excitement, we got it.
Elizabeth Mastapitro stepping up. She's been solid for New Berlin Eisenhower so far, especially at that move of moving into the 3rd spot after leading off game 1.
That was great roll and a great result, and you can see, even though she didn't hook the ball a great deal, when you get it off your hand clean and you get good roll, the pins are going to dance and fall over.
Yeah, head pin does a lot of work on the 4, 5, and 7. She's confident within the pocket. Little fist pump there by Elizabeth as she walks away. Now, Alyssa Athis basically has to set her team up for the 10th frame to have any chance.
Well, that was a big double, and you want to send a message to your opponents. You're not going to roll over.
Nice out to the right, 10 flush.
That was a thing of beauty right there, and it's funny how the girls are getting down to business toward the end here.
That 16-pin lead for New Berlin Eisenhower, but they're working on a double. If they can get a strike here on a Danielle Chup, that would force Waukesha West and Jalen Haynen to double. Put any pressure on the anchor bowler from Berlin Eisenhower. Nice shot by Danielle. It's sent up in the pocket perfectly for 10 back.
10 back. These girls are throwing it like pros right now.
Tell you what, to go back and forth like this, clutch match for the championship on TV. These girls are showing all this hard work that they're doing during the high school season, starting to pay off.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's going to be a loser in this match, but that's bowling. There's always a winner. There's going to be a loser. And you're going to lose more often than you're going to win, but this is why high school bowling is so good for the kids.
Jalen Haynen right on target line, 10 back. Gets the first one, needs a second one to put any pressure on New Berlin Eisenhower here.
Well, this is why she's in that 5 slot, meaning bowling in the 5th frame and the 10th. It's someone who can perform under pressure, and that's easier said than done.
And to do it as a freshman.
Well, at any age,
yeah.
Phil, at any age, but you're right, as a freshman you're less experienced. But her first shot, she showed no signs of cracking. Another good aggressive shot, good roll, and that was one of her cleanest releases I've seen today.
You see how strong that roll is on the back end. I mean, just watch the ball chug right through the pocket, no deflection at all on that 15-pound ball.
And she accelerates through the release zone, which is what we want to do. We don't want to decelerate through the release.
Well, counting out extremely huge here. Just want to make sure you get more than half here with Taylor Williams coming in to sub. Getting a little screen time here.
Tickle that head pin is all she wanted to do.
Oh my! The 9-pin falls forward into the 5, and she puts up a big strike on the board for 202.
So do the math for me, Phil. What does New Berlin Eisenhower need from their anchor?
Well, Joey, it's all up to Maddie Brandos now. She needs a strike on the first ball to lock up this MidWinter High School Classic Championship for New Berlin Eisenhower. Anything less than a strike, and the title's going to go to Waukesha West.
Take a deep breath and let it go. Good roll, and a great result.
You know, it didn't look any different than that solid 8-pin she left in the 5th frame, but the ball did what it was supposed to that time. Right through the pocket, 1-3, 5 and 9. The 5-pin took the 9 up before the ball even got there. Shows you how strong the roll Maddie Brandos had on that ball to lock up this MidWinter High School Classic title.
As long as she stays behind the line and just gets a few pins down, match and set.
Nice out of her hand. Crawls up a little high. That's enough count to bring the title home for New Berlin Eisenhower. And Maddie Brandos, Molly Brandos, and Liz Master-Peter last year were part of the West Dallas Central Co-op girls team that finished in 2nd place here at the MidWinter Classic. So a little revenge for those 3 ladies coming home with the title this year. 1 pin doesn't matter when the match is all locked up. A great championship match here from Castle Lanes and Racine. New Berlin Eisenhower takes home the title 395 to 383. Joe Serrano will be back from Castle Lanes to wrap up this MidWinter High School Classic in just a couple of minutes. Make sure you stay tuned. Eileen's Bowling Buddy, used by high school and college coaches and members of the PBA Tour to train, warm up, and rehab. Get all the information at eileensbowlingbuddy.com.
Success has to be earned. Earned through hard work and dedication. There is no easy road. There are no shortcuts. You have to put in the time, get focused, and outwork your competition. Go earn it. Get motivated.
Providing premier equipment sales and services to Wisconsin bowlers since 1973. Check out our Wall of Fame and our current specials at bpsmilwaukee.com.
Well, Joey, the boys' final between McGuanago and Indian Trail, a little anticlimactic. I mean, Indian Trail jumped out, big 257 game, took care of that match. And we got to the girls' final between Waukesha West and New Berlin Eisenhower. And Jalen Halen steps up. Waukesha West gets that big double in the 10th frame to put the pressure on New Berlin Eisenhower. Maddie Brandos returned the favor and did a great job stepping up and winning that match for her team.
Right. We saw great clutch bowling from pretty much youngsters in the game, but they handled the pressure well. They made the right read on the lanes, and they executed the way you're supposed to.
Well, Indian Trail takes home the boys' title. New Berlin Eisenhower the girls' title here from the 2015 Midwinter High School Classic at Castle Lanes in Racine. And, of course, presented to us thanks to our friends at Eileen's Bowling Buddy. Not done with the bowling action yet here on Time Warner Cable Sports Channel. Thanks to our friends there. One of the tournaments I love calling with you every year, the Action Heating and Cooling Alternate Shot Doubles Tournament, a fun format. And we talked about pressure with the young ladies in that final match day. Pressure on every shot with your teammate. If you don't strike, they got to make your spare. You can make a good friend or make an enemy out of a teammate real quick in that format.
Right, and experience helps in that regard, but pressure is pressure, and the more important the stakes, the more pressure they can feel.
Yeah, it's going to be a good field for that Action Heating and Cooling Alternate Shot Doubles. Make sure you join us for that. For my friend Joe Serrar, see him at Bowlers Pro Shop for all your bowling needs. I'm Phil Bridlow, and parents, take the kids bowling. They'll have fun for life. And we'll see you on that next show coming to you from Motion Plus Lanes in Cudahy.